Hello and welcome to the Car Care Auto Reviews channel, and welcome to the 2025 Hyundai Tucson, all updated for 2025. And in today's video, we're going to do a proper technical review under the hood, take a look underneath it, inside and out, talk about some things we like, some things we do not like, right after this. Let's start our technical review under the hood. Now, the Tucson could be had with three powertrain options. There's a hybrid, there's a plug-in hybrid, and then there is a non-hybrid, just regular gasoline. In this video, we're going to focus on the non-hybrid because we have actually reviewed the plug-in hybrid. I'll leave a couple videos right here. The engine is a 4-cylinder, 2.5 liter, non-turbo, which is cool, engine. Let's dive into its mechanical construction. So at the very top, you have a plastic valve cover. Decent quality, not the best, not the worst. Again, mid-grade. That's the best part about Hyundai, where they're getting it right. Underneath that is a two-piece cylinder head. So you have the cylinder head itself and then cam cradle on top. Pretty simple. This engine does have dual variable valve timing. The intake is electronic. The exhaust is hydraulically controlled or oil controlled. This cylinder head does have hydraulic lifters and rotor rockers, which is really cool. This is cool and modern, service free. We are good. This engine does have two timing chains, one of them from the cams to the crank. One of them goes from the crank to the balance shaft and the oil pump on the side. Very simple setup, not really much to it. The block is aluminum in this engine as well. It does have the main caps for the crank part of the lower oil pan. That is a design we're starting to see in a lot of modern cars. It is meant for kind of strength and everything. I see it. Some engines have had issues because of that, but this one, hopefully so far so good. This engine does have a cooled EGR system, which is something folks usually don't like in engines, and I get it because they do require some maintenance and potential for carbon buildup and whatnot, but this does have an EGR. Now, the cooling system in this engine is pretty modern and high-tech. It does have an integrated thermal management unit, basically translation, fancy coolant distribution valve. It sends coolant where it needs to go for faster warm-up. So it cuts off coolant in certain areas so the engine will warm up rapid. That's what that means. Does have a mechanical water pump, does have a thermostat, belt driven. Speaking of the belts, we have two belts. One of them uses a regular spring-loaded tensioner. The other one is a stretch belt, mechanics' least favorite belt. I don't know why manufacturers do this. Just put one belt. Well, everybody's happy. Just side suggestion there. Save you a few bucks. The fuel system in this car is actually one of the best things about this engine, I think. This doesn't have direct injection only. This has dual. So you have direct injection and port injection at the same time. They can work individually or together. That is the best part. So the likelihood of carbon buildup are low here. That is not the intent of the design, but that's a byproduct of that design, and that is really cool. The transmission in the Tucson non-hybrid is a regular 8-speed torque converter automatic transmission. Love it. No DCT, no CVT, no drama, no fuss, no nothing. Very smooth transmission. I really like how it shifts. And this powertrain can be had with all-wheel drive or front-wheel drive. So the all-wheel drive adds a transfer case that sends power to the rear wheels. It's always sending power there. Then you have a coupler in the back. We're going to look at it in a second here when we look underneath it. It's a coupler that engages and disengages the rear differential to drive the rear wheel at what ratio or not drive them. So with that, there are a few things here. There are two things that are really good, and one thing that is very interesting. So let's get the bad stuff out of the way. There is a very, very, very cheap and flimsy looking coolant pipe. It's plastic. I don't know why. They did everything right here. Just that one very flimsy coolant pipe right in your, as soon as you open the hood, it's the first thing you see. Don't know why they do that, but it's there. Just, I hope they get rid of it, change it with a hose and clamp. That would be much nicer. Moving away from that, there is something to be said about car manufacturers. They never think of service, ever. That's always been the case. Sometimes you see stuff that are meant for service, you think, they thought of us. They didn't, it just happened that way. But here they did two things that I love. The hood cable. As far as I remember, most manufacturers, they'll run the hood cable from the handle inside all the way to the latch direct, one cable, and that's it. Hyundai, though, decided to split that cable in two, because usually where the cable gets damaged is in the front. They split it right here, so you need to replace this cable. You're not replacing the entire thing. You're just replacing that tiny little section. That is pretty cool. They thought of it. Maybe it's something for manufacturing they did it this way, but still, we'll take it. But the second thing, which is the most important thing, which if you are another manufacturer, representative of a manufacturer, car designer, please pay close attention, because this is the things that we'd like you to do more of. Let's take a look at the air filter here so we can learn something very important. This is an air filter for this car. In majority of cars, you have to remove this entire thing, pull it to the side, you're stretching the area here to get the filter, and then you're fighting with it. Watch what Hyundai did here. You have a door that opens, and then two little tabs, and then the filter comes out. You just pull it right out, and then you insert the filter, you pull your tabs, and you bring your door down, just like that. If you own a Tucson and you pay someone to replace your air filter, we need to have a talk. And if you are a manufacturer of a car, please do this to every single car you make. Thank you very much. You have yourself a wonderful day. Let's take a look underneath the 2025 Hyundai Tucson. Everything is covered in the front. What I do like is they did leave you openings for something as simple as an oil change. I like that. And you notice this does have this little engine support thing here. Let's look at the front suspension. So steel lower control arm with a separate ball joint. We do like this design for service. Aluminum knuckle, single piston caliper, McPherson strut at the top. This particular design, we have the sway bar link coming out the front. It is a steel sway bar link, which is really nice. Now when we come around here, I like how the AC drain is very clear. That more manufacturers are starting to bury that, which is kind of strange. We look around here, I like how open everything is. You can kind of see everything, transfer case very clear. You can see parts of your EGR tube, and everything is wide open. I like that, gives you a lot of space. This is an electronic rack and pinion. The motor is on the column, not on the rack outside. Then we do have a flex pipe. Don't really like flex pipes. I wish it was a flex joint with a gasket. The exhaust quality is not terrible, but it's not the top either. It's kind of mid-grade. You don't notice you have some covers here. You don't have a lot of insulation. I mean, we'll talk about the interior of this car. It is a quieter car. They do have a little bit of heat insulation here. Here's a drive shaft that comes out of the transfer case, goes straight to the back. Which in the back here, we have a differential here, and then this is the unit, the coupling unit that actually makes all-wheel drive happen. This is what engages power through, at what ratio, and when. That's how that is controlled. Very simple design. There isn't much to it. Rear suspension, we have multiple arms. It is coil spring with a shock separate from the coil spring, so it's not a strut. Unfortunately, the sway bar link in the back is plastic. I don't know why they did that. That's how they deemed it. You do have an aluminum knuckle in the back as well, single piston caliper with the integrated park and brake in it. One big muffler here, one single exit, not two. And this section is wide open. This one, on the other hand, not so wide open. I wish they would have just done that there as well. But overall, I mean, the build quality here seems pretty decent. It's not the top that we have seen, but it's definitely nowhere near the bottom. This is, I would call, mid-grade. Everything looks good. We don't have issues. Let's take a look at the outside of the Hyundai Tucson. We have to take a moment to let it sink in. It is a lot. And in 2025, they did some updates. I honestly am having a hard time seeing the updates. Pretty sure it's there, but I just can't keep looking at this car too much. I don't like how it looks, but again, looks are a matter of taste. I think there's a lot going on here, unnecessarily so, because you look at this, you assume this is a headlight. No, this is a headlight. Hyundai loves to put their headlights low like that, but still, this just, I feel like this headlight needs to be here, so this would look. And then the radar sensor is not behind this emblem, not in the middle. It is off to this side for some reason. And it works. Must work if they put it there. The looks are a lot. a lot to take in for this car. If you really, the more you start looking at it, the more you realize there's a lot going on. And then we get to the side and when things go to the next level. So you notice this line starts here, comes here, and then it just suddenly disappears. And then there's this crease here, crease there. Then there's this little line that comes in into the door a little bit and goes back out of it. There's a lot going on. And then for 25, we have new wheel options. This wheel, this is an XRT trim. It's nice. It completely mismatches the entire look of the car. This is not a good looking car. It's arrived at that already. Then there's this door. I want you to pay attention to this door. I feel like this point of the car, there was a designer working on that side, and then the rest of it, there was a completely different designer, and they didn't agree on things. So we arrived at the no man's land, I call it. Right here. This is no man's land. So you see this giant crease comes to here, and then this one starts here, and then there's no man's land in between, because they couldn't agree. That's just how it feels. I mean, when you get in an accident in this car, even a small one, nobody will repair this door for you. They will just replace it. And I don't blame them, because there's way too much going on here. This giant thing here, just enough about the door. Now we move to the rear door. Doesn't disappoint. You got this big line, which is perfectly fine, and it's just this one shoot-off line. That was the third designer that had to put their 2 cents in. A lot going on in the body. And this is what this is going to equal in the future. The more complications there are in the body, the more cost it is to replace it should you get in a tiny accident. That's the problem. Things here with the glass, I like that this is a bigger window. It's not the biggest, but it is a bigger than usual. Then we get to the back. And this section, of course, is non-symmetrical, as just like Subaru, going after Subaru. Then we get to the back. The back initially is okay, until you look at these. Doesn't this remind you of this car a little bit? A little bit. I don't have a lot to say about the back. It looks better, say it this way, except there's one little thing. Do you notice this Hyundai logo? Here's the problem with this. They put this Hyundai logo here, and it's perfectly fine. Maybe they could have put it here, here, or not put it at all. That would have been okay. Tucson, XRT, perfect. H-Track, this is all-wheel drive, that's an option. I get it. But here's the problem with this Hyundai logo. Power door, talk about that in a second. When you look on the inside, they put this entire giant hump that actually takes away from your visibility in the back just to put the Hyundai logo. I hope there's another reason. We actually investigated this when we looked at the, I believe it was 22, 23 model. There was no reason. There was nothing behind there. There's no wiper, there's nothing. It just is. Speaking of the back door, while we have it open, single motor on this one. This is just a shock. There's only a motor here. Good thing is, if anything happens, you only have one expensive motor to replace. Bad thing is, this puts side load on this door, where over time, potentially, it'll bend the frame. That's the problem. Now, the wire for this motor also goes into the headliner. I wish it was inside here. Makes service much simpler, but not the end of the world. Now, this one only has opening, close, not open. But the cool thing is you have a feature here where if you have the key in your pocket and you turn on this feature, when you approach this door when it's closed, it'll start beeping. If you stay there, it'll automatically open. I love that feature. And Hyundai is doing that more and more. It's actually a very functional feature. Let's look at the back here. Decent space. I like the space. There's a lot of wheel well intrusion here, but they maximize the space here. I like this material here. Actually, this is very heavy duty material, but manufacturers love to do one thing. Look at this. Maximum load, 130 pounds. So if I have the seats folded and I lean in to reach something, just my weight potentially will break this. I will tell you one thing, 110% of owners of SUVs with warnings like this will not adhere by them. I haven't seen one of these broken yet, so there's that. But underneath it, look at that. We have a spare tire. Love to still see spare tire in 2025. It's becoming kind of a disappearing breed, if you would. Then come to the simplicity, and this is where even the most expensive SUV should consider this. Learn from the Tucson. You want to fold the second row seat? Sure. Oh, it doesn't want to latch all the way. That's a different thing. But can it be any simpler than that? Because most of the time, I have a lot of stuff I want to load into the car and I need more space. I want to fold them down. Now, folding them back up, we're done unloading the big stuff. We're okay. But it cannot be simpler than a little handle pull. I did this one perfect. Didn't complicate electronics or some strange strap. Cannot be simpler than that. And now you have a really decent amount of space, and I love that. Let's take a look at the interior of the 2025 Hyundai Tucson. So they updated this interior and they did it very well. The first thing is they did not touch the things that are good about this interior. That means they listen to feedback, which is really good. This car has almost like a flat dash where nothing sticks up from it. It makes the visibility very, very good out of the front. I love it. And the second thing is this interior is quieter than usual. You don't expect a car in this segment to be this quiet. I mean, it's not a Genesis, but it's quieter than you anticipate it to be. And that's pretty cool. And then we move on to the updates. They have this big screen gauge and then another screen for the infotainment. They're kind of connected together. It gives it a very nice look to it. And then you have the little shelf on the side for storage. I love it. It looks really nice. I'm usually against screen gauges because they don't do much, but this one is kind of interesting. It's like 3 screens into one, at least in this XRT trim. The middle is a screen and the outside is like a lesser quality screen, if you would, but it looks like a complete screen. It mimics gauges. That's pretty interesting. Infotainment is the latest infotainment from Hyundai. It works pretty good. It's pretty fast. It does have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is really nice. Very responsive. I love it. Steering wheel controls are super simple. I love that the volume is a rotary dial, not a... You don't have to do one of these to raise the volume. You just roll the dial and it's really nice. Shifter is a physical shifter in this non-hybrid, non-plug-in hybrid model, which I really love. It is a little bit on the bigger side, but hey, we will never complain about physical shifter. Now, the HVAC controls are touch capacitive, but they are always visible. So I can live with that. Center console storage is decent. Seats are very comfortable. I love the layout of this interior, how good the visibility is and how quiet it is. I think that's one of the best things about this car. And it's very functional. Doesn't feel cramped. Doesn't feel something is off about it. It is now, after the update, it even looks a lot better to look at as well. Really love this interior. Let's take a look at the back seat of the 25 Tucson. I'm 5'7". This is my driving position. I have a lot of knee room, which is really nice. This is a pretty comfortable seat. You don't have a lot of stuff here. You do have some HVAC vents. You do have some USB-Cs at the bottom, but it's a comfortable seat. It's a nice, really nice space for it. But there is one thing that they didn't change in this model. I think they can't change because of the shape of the door. And to demonstrate that, I'm going to get out and I'll show you the seatbelt. Do you see how it just kind of stands in the way? That's kind of interesting. And the reason for that is because of the shape of the door. Now, this shape is really nice for entrance and exit because you have a lot of room this way. You're not going to hit on it. But the byproduct of that, seatbelt had to stay here. They even put a little slot for you to put the seatbelt here to get it out of the way. But still in the way. Now you have the thing you're going to hit on. That was just an interesting observation. There was actually no way around it because this is a structural piece where the seatbelt needs to anchor to. Let's talk about some things I do not like about the updated 2025 Hyundai Tucson. And honestly, this, beyond the looks and the aesthetics, this is a pretty good SUV. Truth have to be said. However, there are a few things. First, the looks, then the outside. That is completely a matter of taste, and I get it, but beyond that, there is one thing. The hybrid and plug-in hybrid model, they are not the greatest things in the planet for this car. I just gotta say that. So if you are shopping for one, heavy emphasis on that because especially the plug-in hybrid model, it feels experimental. It's not really great. This would be the model I would recommend because the plug-in hybrid model is truly not good. Let's just leave it at that. So the 2025 Hyundai Tucson update. I think they did this update for the most part well. On the outside, they did a few cosmetic changes here and there, nothing over the top, but this remains a very difficult car to look at. Depends. Some folks will see it very nice, I don't. And the biggest thing about this is when we have the Santa Fe, this starts to look normal because the Santa Fe is anything but. But just like the Santa Fe, when we reviewed it, I told you, you need to get past the looks because once you make it inside, things are done even better. And this is what I like about this. See, they modernized the inside without taking away the things that are good about it. Left out a few little stuff that are interesting, but like the seatbelts in the back. But for the most part, I really like this interior because they left the dash alone. And that's one of the best things about this car. Not many cars you get into that has this flat dash feel where you have great visibility over it. And it's actually good to look at. But now we have these two screens that are almost connected together. It's just very aesthetically pleasing. But at the same time that they did that, they updated a few things in the interior, made it feel better. That was one of the things I was surprised by in the previous model. It felt very cheap and plasticky. This one feels a lot better. I like that. I think they did this interior really well. Seats are comfortable. Driving position is excellent. And the best part about it is you get in an SUV like this, you expect it to be loud and it has a lot of road noise and whatnot. Now, it is not a Genesis in any way, shape, or form, but it is pretty quiet compared to similar SUVs in this segment. And that is pretty cool. That was the same with the previous, like before the facelift model. Overall, this is an SUV that some folks will take one look at it and be like, this is too much, I don't even want to check it out. I actually advise you to check it out because it has great visibility. It's a very functional SUV. I like it for the most part. Nothing is perfect in the world. And speaking of that, we have to talk about one thing. The hybrid and plug-in hybrid model, if I were you, I'd just go with the non-hybrid model because I see a lot of good things here behind the scenes. Things are not the top quality built stuff, but they're not the worst either. And you have a 4-cylinder engine that has no turbo, dual injection. This engine's been out for a bit, so I hope they worked out all the issues that they do have from their initial version. The second thing is no silly CVT or some DCT. No, it's just a regular 8-speed transmission, which shifts very smooth, and I like it. This is a good recipe for success on the powertrain department. I just hope they worked out all the issues so we don't have any issues with smooth sailing, because beyond the looks on the outside, the interior is great. And if this powertrain proves reliable, I think we're on to something here, because the price is actually not terrible either. It's not 2025 pricing yet. Folks, I hope this video was helpful and informative. I hope you learned something new. If you like it, consider giving it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing to the channel. Check out some of my other videos. Until the next video, folks, may the Lord bless you and keep you, and you have yourself a wonderful day.